All right.
It ends there. Brandon Beane's got like 30 more minutes to do. No?
I mean, they didn't even get to questions about individual players like they normally do.
I need 30 more minutes from the GM. The GM has to do another one.
Yeah, like
This has been
anything contract-wise or roster-wise.
The GM has to do another one. I can't believe it's over. I can't believe it ended there. Hey, it's Jeremy and Joe. This has been the Terry Pegula Brandon Beane press conference addressing the media on the decision to fire Sean McDermott. If you joined late, Terry Pegula opened up by saying it was his decision. It came from the result of the Denver game. He decided in the locker room. That's it. In the locker room, he made that decision, and that's it. That basically, it's just he felt they hit a playoff wall. So it's a gut feeling. The owner said, now's the time, and he made the move. And Beane said he bears guilt, blame, responsibility. He did say there's things I could have done better. The press conference, the reason I say they need to do another one is there's so much more substantive stuff that there is to get to, and I guess that will be saved maybe for when the new coach is introduced, because we spent so much of the press conference listening to conversations about the draft process of Keon Coleman.
It took it over a little bit.
It was unexpected. Unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, there was no, I mean, even on all the Beane comments about how, like, I could have done something better and I bear, regret on whatever. Like, there was never anything on what? Like, what is it? What is the thing that could have been done better? They did get a question once about what could have been done better to win the Super Bowl, and the answer was we were right there. And that was it. Nothing about how Allen got beat up all season long. Nothing really specific about what they'll do or how they see wide receiver moving forward. Nothing about free agents on the offensive line. Like, I'm with you. Like, I feel like less than half of what I was expecting them to get to were not even touched upon. So, but again, maybe that is planned for when there's a new head coach about how they see some of those things. But roster-wise, nothing specific other than Coleman.
Other than Coleman.
Which makes sense after the way Coleman commentary started. There was going to be follow-ups on that. That the coaching staff wanted Keon is where we began.
Yes.
With
so the receipt on that, of course, is that we have video at the combine of Beane being glad Coleman ran a slow 40.
Yep.
I'm glad Coleman ran that. It'll help to get him. So, like, a player on the team, the owner of the team has said, it's not the GM's fault. He's on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still on the team. Poor Keon Coleman.
I mean, the end of game, even, like, Denver even, there wasn't a lot. Like, the one thing I was ready for the most, that I was most, like, looking to learn from this press conference was how does Brandon Beane see the end of that Denver game? And maybe Terry answered that by talking about just, like, the big picture, but he also said at the same time they fired Sean McDermott because of, the Denver game.
Yeah.
But, like, how did you see that game? Did you feel like the defense let you down? Did you feel like the offense let you down? Like, there was that didn't get they didn't get to it.
We got so little.
Wow.
Little.
It was fireworks.
It was interesting.
It was definitely interesting.
It was definitely interesting, and
man,
they should do one with just Beane next. Like, we're not done. There's a lot to get to. He was asked directly by Matt Perino about the wide receiver debate, conversation, rant.
Yep.
And he kind of just claimed he was passionate and defending the defensive players he selected, which is an interpretation one could try to have.
I didn't hear anything that tells me one way or the other if he will take the same approach next year, this offseason on that position.
Beane also echoed something he has said countless times before, that flat out does not hold up if you pay attention to the league, that you have to make sacrifices when you're paying Josh Allen. The number of teams paying quarterbacks big money is not small. You don't have to make sacrifices. That is standard operating procedure. The idea that Allen's contract is a burden that forces sacrifices rather than the ultimate gift to allow you to do more is incredible to me. I don't want to say like it's a disqualifying statement. It's just the ultimate spin on something that is untrue. Josh Allen's contract is better to have than Tua's contract. The Broncos just made the playoffs 2 years ago in a year when they had a $65 million dead cap hit on Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. The idea that Josh's contract is something that you have to make sacrifices, that is wrong. Wrong. It is a gift to have that. Wow. All right, hey, it wasn't all bad. It was definitely, if you want to call, 803-0550. Sal Capaccio is going to dial up in a minute when we get a chance to talk to him, see what his thoughts are on this. So if you have a thought, we are glad to take it. I don't know what I guess I'll just say this, Joe. I don't know what I was expecting, but I can say that what we got is not what I expected.
Yeah. The other thing we didn't get, or maybe you will think we did get it with a bit of a non-answer, is Allen being on board or not being on board with firing Sean McDermott.
Right. He was not told. He was not consulted.
Until after.
And Pegula said he would not share his thoughts on it.
Which, again.
And Allen hasn't spoken on it.
To me, like, where my mind goes the moment that answer is given is maybe your quarterback wasn't on board with this.
Of course, there's also.
Because if he was, it would be very easy to just say he was.
All right. Brandon Beane was asked about the idea of a power play. Pegula said if you're making a power play, you're going to be out. Beane appeared to get a little emotional, personal about the idea that anyone questioning his integrity. Mm-hmm. And he said he stood up for the coach when the piece was written about McDermott. And I think that is suspect. But here we are.
All right. It was something.
It was something.
Man.
It's WGR Buffalo. How else do I say it? What's a legal ID? I haven't done a legal ID in 20 years. WGR Buffalo, an Odyssey station.
We could just play it.
Sure. We'll play it. We'll get a break in. I guess we'll just keep going. People are going to want to talk about this. Our first. No. It's wild. I can't.
Speechless.
I can't believe. There's a lot of things to not believe. I really cannot believe the GM is still leaning on Josh means we have to sacrifice. I can't believe it. It's nuts. It's so wrong. It is so wrong to say that. Okay. Get your calls in 803-0550 and 1-888-552-550. A snap decision. That is the other headline. Mm-hmm. They lost in Denver. Terry Pegula walked in the locker room, looked at the players, looked at Josh crying, and said, I got to fire my coach. And he did. And that you might think that that's a good way to do it, a bad way to do it. I don't really care how they arrived at it. To me, that doesn't matter much. A gutalytics moment versus talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. That doesn't really matter to me. Might matter to you. So give us a ring, 803-0550. We'll get your calls. We're wide open for you. We'll check in with Sal as well here on WGR. Jeremy and Joe, extended coverage, post-game of the Brandon Beane, Terry Pegula press conference from One Bills Drive. We'll get Sal Capaccio in a moment here. He's on the Wester Hotline to give us his thoughts on it. Sal, good morning.
Good morning, guys. That was interesting.
Interesting, yes. That was something. My first takeaway was that ended very abruptly and too soon, and there are 50 questions that still should be asked. I mean, I don't know, Sal. That thing ended quick.
Yeah, it was almost an hour, I think. They started early. They started at 5 to 10. And
that's right.
I think typically these things go about an hour. So, it seemed like that because there was still so much meat on the bone and because it was great, right? You know what I mean? Like great cinema, I guess, and people dialed in and thinking about it. And I'm watching reaction from national media and local fans and people like that. So, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call it quick in the sense of what we normally get. You got almost an hour, I think.
I guess the issue was, I guess I'm expecting a typical Brandon Beane press conference, and since there were two people up there, it was more difficult to have a linear conversation.
Yeah, it might have felt more empty because all the things you'd get to usually about roster construction and free agents and things that like the hour that Brandon would normally spend is there was obviously a lot of time on McDermott, which is understandable.
Yeah, and that'll come, guys. We'll get more when that from Brandon Beane specifically down the road, because obviously there's going to be combine, Senior Bowl, owners meetings, draft. So we're going to get that.
A new coach press conference.
Yeah, of course, right, a new coach.
Right.
So I think today, obviously, the stuff the actual stuff on the roster, digging on the roster, probably can wait. I think today was more of a day for the big picture. What happened with Sean McDermott? Why that happened, the structure of the organization, Brandon Beane's role, his thoughts on that, where his own culpabilities lie in the Bills, not getting to a Super Bowl, all those things today.
Sal joining us. Sal, tough day for Keon Coleman.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's interesting when you have to remember here now, the way this went down on this question was essentially like a question was given to Brandon about wide receiver.
Yep.
And then Terry Pegula interrupted and said, "Let me interrupt." And he unprompted said Keon wasn't his pick. He was being a team player. Like, that was really surprising, right? And that opened up a lot of, wow, what's going on here? And then you get more off that, and then all of a sudden, so Keon caught a stray, but he really caught it, and then it became way more after that, of course, right? But really interesting. And, I will tell you guys, I think one of the main themes of today, it seemed like they wanted to make sure they hammered home is, yes, Brandon Beane is the GM, and on a piece of paper, who could have, like, he's responsible for the roster or the controlling the 53. Like, that's all fine. And I'm not going to say this is wrong, because I've been around them long enough to know this. I've talked to Brandon Beane long enough and Sean McDermott long enough to know that they do collaborate. And I think one of the things they wanted to make sure everybody knew today was, look, yes, Brandon Beane, quote unquote, constructs the roster, but he absolutely takes input from the coaches. And even if he doesn't agree, if he feels this is what they want strongly, he's going to do. And I thought it was interesting that was something really hammered home today.
So they also very much wanted to get across that they felt, and I think the seeding over the years was
5-2-3-2-2-2-6
was used as the evidence that the roster is great or amazing, however they would want to qualify it. I guess we never really got into why they thought that, other than just the results, right?
Yeah, when Terry first brought that number out, and then he brought it out later again, I thought, I like many people, you're thinking of the song Jenny, right, with the phone number. Like, wait, what's he rattling off here? It was he had it on the ready. He knew it. Like, it's something he wanted to say. Like, here's the seating. This is where we've been. There was no number one in there, right? There was no number one in there.
Yep. But
there were 2s and a 6 and a 5 and all of that. And what he said later was, great roster, good coaching. I thought that was interesting that he phrased it that way, right? There was something later on with those exact words in there. I think at the end of the day, I think it's safe to assume here, Terry Pegula believes the Bills have a good enough roster to win the Super Bowl, and they've fallen short of doing that.
Yeah.
And that was a reason why he fired Sean McDermott, whether we can say very quick snap decision, and he said that played into it, the Denver locker room, but it's clear that he believes that there's enough talent on this team, and the roster is good enough that they should have gone to a Super Bowl by now.
Yeah.
And the story, Sal, about just the locker room after, and man, like how could it be true? I mean, he said it. The players' reaction and Josh's reaction after the game would have really contributed to this decision.
Yeah, and I think I went on with you guys and said it was the most emotional, devastating locker room I've ever been in a professional sports scene. It truly was. I've been here in locker rooms after losses, but not like that. That was totally different than anything I've ever been a part of and witnessed. And Terry Pegula, obviously, he's the owner of the team, and if I'm saying that and he's seeing that and he's closer to these guys, and he said he walked up to Josh Allen, said no catch, or I'm sorry, said it was a catch. He said it was a catch. And he said Josh didn't even acknowledge him because he was sobbing so much. And he said he made his decision based on, I don't know, what do you want to say, the vibe of the locker room? But look, again, I want to make sure, like, it's not just, oh, look at these guys crying, I'm firing my coach. What he later went on to say was, he looked at that locker room and he said, what do we need? This is happening year after year. I have to make a change. That's what he basically said.
Yeah. He said it was to hit the playoff wall, which
hit the playoff
Yeah,
wall. Thank you.
yep.
Proverbial playoff wall. Thank
Which
you.
is fine.
He even mentioned the games.
Yeah,
he said 13 seconds. He said missed field goal. He said the catch.
Yeah, that's right. Like, and I said to Joe, like, I don't really care why. The why to me, it might matter to some people. It doesn't really matter to me. He could have said a careful process of evaluating DVOA in the postseason versus I just felt like it. Like those are both the same to me as they move in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think that's important, Jeremy, because a lot of today, I think what's going to happen from a lot of people from the outside and fans, they're going to hear that about the locker room and think, he just walked in, he saw a bunch of guys crying and said, well, I better fire my coach. Yes, it kind of happened in that time frame like that, but in his words, he took into consideration hitting the proverbial playoff wall that he had been down this road before and it hadn't worked.
Yeah. All right.
I thought like some of the questions too, like the one in Sal I like the most. I don't know if Pegula really answered it directly, but great. Like the whole kind of lead up was playoff wall and fired because of the Denver game and talking about the locker room after. But also at the same time, he said repeatedly that he thought it was a catch. And I don't know who asked the question, but about how, well, if you thought it was a catch, then why am I firing the head coach?
Yeah, it was interesting, right? Yeah, I don't know, and I don't remember the exact answer he gave, but he basically said, it was my decision to do it. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you think about that, well, okay, if you thought it was a catch and you're saying that, like, they should have won the game, then why are you blaming the coach for not winning the game? And I think just from the collective responses of Terry Pegula today, I think that we can assume his answer was, but we didn't win the game, and we've been down this road before. So it didn't matter why we didn't win the game, but we didn't win the game, and this is the collective where we are now hitting the wall.
Covering this press conference, as we start to like form our opinions, it all sounds like one of those people, Terry here, and there are plenty of football fans like this, where the coach is always to blame, even to the point where he talked about all the injuries and practice squatters being called up. Most football fans might point to the coach doing the job there. Why did you have to have practice squatters come up and save your team? Because your roster wasn't very good, and your coach held that together. And yet he looked at the practice squad as a testament to the GM, which to me is odd, but that's where he lands.
Well, he's been with this GM and this coach, obviously, for the same amount of time. And he mentioned Josh Allen wouldn't be here without this guy, meaning Brandon Beane, and maneuvering and doing a Houdini act to get him in the draft. I think Terry values that highly. That Brandon has done some things here to bring players like Josh Allen. He mentioned, one of the first things he talked about, guys, was the front office talent that Brandon Beane has brought into the building. And I absolutely come away from this thinking he doesn't want to lose that. He doesn't want to lose having these people in charge of his organization that he really trusts and believes are good at their job. And we can debate whether they are or not.
Sure.
I mean, he mentioned Brian Gaine, and he mentioned Joe Shane, and he mentioned Dan Morgan. Like, that's something that Terry really respects.
Sure. The whole, whatever, it might be the most cynical view of it. The whole thing looks like everything is just propped up by Josh Allen. The pick of Allen props up the GM, and the rest of his record might not be that great, might not be that bad. The record, the seeds, why are they 5-2, 3-2, 2-2, 6? That's because of Josh Allen, consistently. Why do those GMs get jobs? The same reason that all the hot offensive coordinators are around other good quarterbacks. Like, the league is consistently propped up by the best quarterbacks, and everyone gets jobs off of those quarterbacks. And here, the owner seems like his entire organization is in good shape, roster-wise, coaching-wise, GM-wise. People leave and get fired. I mean, guys, Joe Shane didn't get fired. But, why'd he get a job? Because he was standing next to the guy that picked Josh Allen. That's how you get a job. How's Grant Udinski going to get a job? How's the McVay tree work? You stand next to good people, you get jobs, and then you see how you work out on your own. So, I don't know. The idea that they have all this talent in the building, maybe they do, but the whole thing is propped up by Allen. Really, this is a Josh Allen.
Well,
this is Josh Allen on somebody on Josh Allen's shoulders in a suit was what I'm trying to say, or something like that. This is a Josh Allen show.
And I don't think they shied away from that in this regard. It was clearly stated today that Josh Allen's part of the process here.
He better be. They got to be nice to him now.
Well,
they didn't consult him.
Yeah,
they didn't involve him.
I was going to say,
and they wouldn't share his feelings on it. So they better do some work to make him feel okay about going forward, because you don't want that to get ugly. Yeah,
I mean, so did it seem to you guys like Good. Terry didn't want to talk about what
Right.
Josh felt about Sean, right? But he made it clear that Josh is going to be a part of the process. So I think what you're saying, and I think I agree with this, which is, well, maybe Josh wasn't completely on board, so you better make sure that he's on board with the next decision.
That's how I took
Right?
it, Sal, and I still have my own internal battle of whether this would be true or not, but whether a non-answer there is the equivalent of he wasn't on board, because my thought is, wouldn't it be easy if he was on board with firing Sean McDermott and the decision that you would just then say that? But again, now I'm going back and forth, because would it be that easy? Like, how do you see that? Like, if he was on board with it, would Terry have just said it?
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything that good can come from that. All that would do is create a, oh my God, Josh Allen wanted Sean McDermott fired headline. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't think that would benefit anybody. So I doubt it. If he did want him, if he was on board with it, I think it's the right thing to not put that out there, to be quite honest, from an organizational standpoint, right?
Yep.
In fact, I think the opposite is true. I think that it would be more beneficial to say, Josh was devastated and, he wanted to keep Sean, but this is my decision. I think that would have been more beneficial. That being said, so number one about Josh, he's going to be a part of the team that's going to help lead or be a part of the team that's going to decide the next head coach in whatever capacity. And number two, late in the press conference, I was thankful I got in the question of, does Josh need anything done surgery-wise? And yes, Brandon Beane said he's going to basically saying he's going to have a procedure on his foot in some capacity, but he will be ready for OTAs. But I found that interesting that obviously we all knew he'd been dealing with a foot injury, but it appears Josh Allen is going to have some sort of procedure done on that foot.
Yeah.
They also learned they did not tell the players. Many players learned through the media.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's abnormal, to be honest with you. The season's over. They're having their exit interviews. They're deciding what they want to do. I was down here on Sunday for locker cleanout, guys, and I'm telling you, it's just guys in and out, right? They're having player meetings. They're having exit physicals, exit interviews. There's not necessarily this one big meeting they bring everybody in and say, hey, we're firing the coach, right? I don't know. I never really have an issue with that, so to speak. We're just living in a type of time now where news travels fast, it goes through the media, and suddenly someone's like, wait, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Because these decisions are made and players just aren't around, and it's not like you're making phone calls to tell all of them.
All right. Thanks, Sal.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Sal Capaccio down at One Bills Drive.
There was a little bit of news, by the way, like right as the press conference was getting started. Nothing crazy, but Diana Rossini did report that the Eagles are conducting their OC search with the understanding that Brian Daboll wants the Bills head coaching job. And if he doesn't land it, Daboll was expected to go to Tennessee to be their offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Which sounds like he would be picking Tennessee over Philly, but and again, this should not come to no surprise, but Daboll wants the Bills head coach job.
Let's go with some phone calls here. Matt in Buffalo. Matt, good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
I just had a question, a couple things here I wanted to get off my chest and see what you guys think. They talked about talent. What is Beane's strongest talent acquisition? Is it free agency? Is it the draft? Is it the trade deadline? They didn't really get into what Beane's strong suit is in the talent acquisition pool. Another thing I had for you guys, they talked about Terry doesn't like power plays. Did Kevin Adams not run a power play for the Sabres for the past 5, 6, 7 years? I believe he did. I think a lot of people around Buffalo believe he did. Terry's a sucker for the power play. And the third thing that I had is Beane always talks about they can score 30 points. That's Josh Allen. He got hammered this year. They talk about a strong offensive line. We need wide receivers, and he just doesn't seem to believe in that. Them thinking they got a lot of talent is very scary for me. What do you guys think about those three things? I'll hang up and listen.
No, I'm with you. I think one of the biggest things I'll be waiting to hear Brandon Beane's response to is even if you're scoring points, how do you look at that then with Allen getting hit all the time? And you might need a surgery maybe on a foot after the season and whatnot. Like your quarterback got hit repeatedly over the year. And right, like there was no really specifics on their feelings of why they think the roster is so good. Like what measurement are you using other than the answer that was given, which is practice squad players coming in and maybe doing a decent job?
He said his counterparts going around, they talk about how good your team is.
And that too, right. Like, but I don't know. Look at the drafts. Look at the free agency, as you mentioned. Look at how many Pro Bowlers they've had. Look at how many All-Pro guys they've had. I don't know what measurement tool you would use to look at their roster and defend the way that they were treating it today.
Good question from Mark on Twitter that did not get asked. And I'm not blaming anybody. It was probably tough to get a question in, and it was tough to even keep it linear on one guy back and forth. But Mark asks, no one got a chance to ask Beane, when you were told Terry was going to fire Sean, what was your response? Did you support the decision? Mm-hmm. Did you push back on the decision? We learned that you've told him, you've MF'd him a few times, right? We heard that. Like, or was that the phrase?
Yep.
We've sworn at each other. We disagree on stuff. When he wanted to fire Sean, what did you say? Did you consult Beane? We don't know. I'm not on the media here for not asking these questions. It was all over the place. And that's why I was so stunned it ended so quickly. We had so much more to try to get answers to. So, Mark, that's a good question. We do not have the answer. Jeffrey in Tonawanda. Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So you kind of tackled my question a couple minutes ago with Sal, and he put it into perspective. So what I didn't understand really was Pegula saying that Josh had zero input or know-how on this decision, and it really just does not add up to me, being your franchise player. And then all the players online who are just clearly upset, it just does not feel that McDermott was the issue. It definitely screams roster building, in my opinion. But I appreciate you taking my call. I'll hang up and listen. I just want to hear any thoughts you have on that.
Thanks, Jeffrey. It can all be both. Like, it can be they've got some roster holes, and maybe they're not getting enough out of the defense, or their defense has not evolved in the modern NFL the way that their offense has evolved. I know a lot of the film guys, a lot of the smart football people that I follow point out that the Bills play, a style of defense, kind of light on the defensive line, and they get pushed around in the run game kind of by design. They want to stop the run, but they don't want to build a certain kind of run-stopping defense, and they kind of live with that. So maybe a new coach will have something different. Maybe it's a Jim Schwartz wide nine, or who knows what it is. So I don't know. It can be either one of those things. The other part of today, and I saw just Bill Barnwell of ESPN just tweeting this out, sometimes you'll have a presser where you regret saying something. The Bills have had like 4 days to plan this.
Mm-hmm.
And,
right.
I think they come off looking unprepared again. Really. They look kind of unprepared today. So, 803-0550. There is one other thing I did like. 100% open search.
Yes.
Like, that's good.
Didn't have a candidate in mind.
No, 100% open search. Like, again, everything can be lip service, but that's something I do want to hear. Anyway, 803-0550. We had pizza. We had that Crosby's basil chicken pesto pizza delivered. Thank you to Crosby's.
Mm-hmm.
Do some
pizza
stuff.
Party at 10 o'clock in the
I had
morning.
some pizza at 10 a.m. I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
All right. What else? More calls here? Yeah, Jarrett. And Cheektowaga. Hey, Jarrett, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, so I had a couple quick things. I think that Terry definitely had a line in the sand when it came to McDermott. If you've ever lost the championship, playing sports or any big game for that matter, and he walked in and felt the energy that was in that room, I think it was Super Bowl or bust. And going back to the talk this past couple of days, Beane is sitting right next to him all the time.
All the time. They watch games together, yep.
Yeah, I think McDermott was going to be the guy to go, not Beane first, no matter what anyone kind of thinks. And then, as far as the roster construction, my personal opinion, I know Beane says it's collaborative effort. I definitely think McDermott's name is all over this roster way more than Beane. I really know too much.
That's what they want you to think. Like, now's the time to scapegoat and say they had a good enough roster and the coach didn't do the job. Like, now's the time to do that. So,
yeah, true. And then just one last quick thing. I really have never in my life heard an owner throw a former coach under the bus like that, especially one who completely changed the culture and standard of the team and left it in a much better place than he found it. With that being said, I mean, I support what he did. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jarrett. Yeah, I mean, you would think a coach has input on the roster. You'd want the coach. These are the kind of players I like. I want this. I want this. That's how it's supposed to work. And if the roster, does the roster underperform or overperform? Everything
That's
is
where the practice squad comment just is so weird.
It's kind of backwards.
Like, the GM would get the victory lap for Jordan Poyer coming back at 33 years old, only saying, I only want to play for the Bills or I'm retiring.
Right, and why does he only want to play for the Bills?
McDermott.
Right. Why does Jordan Phillips...
The safety position was stabilized this year because Sean McDermott was the head coach.
Yeah.
And there are other examples of like that around the roster. Jordan Phillips had to play how many games in the middle of the year when they were missing all their defensive tackles, and why was he here? Because he would only play for the Buffalo Bills or he was going to retire. And then he posted on Instagram after upset about it. So I'm assuming he would also be on that list. And that's just a couple. I mean...
maybe Beane gets that credit too. Beane and Poyer could be close. Beane and Trey White. Like, we shouldn't just limit that just to McDermott. It's the organization that gets that for guys that want to come back. So, but right, like, you take a guy off Miami from last year who's in his last season and he stabilizes your defense. That's not the GM found a diamond in the rough. That's you went back and got an old guy, and the coach knows how to use that guy, how to put that guy in the best possible space.
Yeah, I don't like you can decipher that with every player. Like Cole Bishop's another one, right? Like that's one where you would probably want to give both. Because you did pick him. You had a lot of talent, and it didn't go well in year one, but I think McDermott would also get credit for developing him over the course of 18 months and him becoming a guy that, to me, looks like he's going to be a star safety in the NFL.
The Coleman thing is just like
the Coleman one is the...
It's such a window into the draft process. Everything you ever hear about the draft is not quite a lie, but every team claims they got who they wanted. And then when it's over, it's like, well, actually, some people in the building wanted somebody else.
And none of it's provable.
Right. You never see a board. Here we have an actual video of Brandon Beane saying, good, I'm glad Keon Coleman ran a slow 40 so we can get him.
Yeah.
Video. And yet, if Terry Pegula wants to say, actually, he wanted somebody else, I will tell you that is believable because when you come up on the clock, you have like 7 guys you're going to take. And who knows what direction you're going to ultimately go. You pick one of them and say, we can't believe he was there. That's what you do. That's how you do the draft. The draft is winning PR. This is why the question to Brandon Beane that I asked after the draft, do you value receiver on the level of your peers, is a very important question. Because every time they come up on the board, I'm sure they have 7 names. And every time they go away from that position. Almost every time. Mm-hmm. They could have taken 10 receivers in Beane's tenure, and they've taken 1 in the top 100. Total. And that's Keon Coleman, who Terry's now saying he didn't want. All right, whatever. We started today like in a good place. I still kind of am. It's fine. It's all goofy. The whole thing is goofy. I think it was a mistake to put Terry up there with Beane. Like, have Terry go up there, field questions for 7 minutes, get him off, and then have Brandon Beane do his end-of-season presser. Because Beane had to constantly answer and try and say what he's trying to say, what he means is, and that's not what should happen. So I think it was a mistake.
I feel like we got no clues whatsoever on where they're leaning on head coach. Like offensive side versus defensive side.
CEO.
So
CEO.
That was the one comment where I thought, okay, maybe that's something. Because they said CEO, and it was the question about the play callers. Like, would you lean towards a play caller or an offensive-minded guy to take Allen through the rest of his prime?
Yeah.
And the answer Beane gave about how some play callers don't always translate to good head coaches because how do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with... Right, he called it a CEO position, right? Like on top of the play caller spot. And when I heard that, I thought, ooh, maybe that's not good for Brian Daboll. Because he's an example of one of those guys. He's an example of a great play caller that when he went to the Giants, there were reports of, conflict with the defensive coordinator and things on the sidelines and terrible timeouts and game management and fines because he's charging into a medical tent and just...
How much do you think the Bills, if Daboll... You said Diana Racine reports that
he wants the job.
that he wants this job, and the Eagles are operating that Brian Daboll wants this job.
Yes.
And if he doesn't take this job, he might go to Tennessee.
That'll go to Tennessee.
So then the question would be, would he take the Tennessee OC job over the Bills OC job?
If it was OC instead of
if they
head
say,
coach?
we're going to hire Lou Anarumo. We want you to be the OC. Would he take that? Or would he say, I only want to be the OC in Tennessee?
I think.
Or would that be just like
the Rossini report reads like take the Bills job out of it for a second. He's picking the Tennessee OC job over the Philly OC job. And that is a better ready-made offense. You can not like Jalen Hurts all you want.
Sure.
Dable coached Jalen Hurts, by the way, at Alabama, so he already has a relationship with him. And he's saying, no thanks, I want Cam Ward. And why would you be doing that? Because if you make that work, that's how you become a head coach again. You get way more credit
for
making Cam Ward great in Tennessee than you would ever get for doing it in Philadelphia. I don't know about OC in Buffalo, though, because maybe he just wants to come back and live here.
Maybe he doesn't want to work for Nick Sirianni.
And maybe that's a very strong possibility. I could see that.
Okay, the coaching staff. Which coach?
Mm-hmm.
Would that have been your offensive coordinator that pushed for this player? And if that's the case, why did the GM say the quarterback wanted him?
Right. That happened.
And he's on the team.
He's on the team with 2 years left in his contract.
This isn't a Kaiir Elam debate.
Right.
Where you can talk about him because he's gone.
Yeah.
He's on the team.
He's on the team. But
listen,
will he be much longer? Is he going to be on the team after that?
Thank goodness for Josh Allen. He's going to prop up everything. We thread the needle. Ready? Here you go. You shoot the needle here. The roster is awesome. Okay. Also, the bad players on it, the GM didn't pick. All right. Great. Okay. Who? The coach? The coaching staff push for a lot of these players that are the good players? Nah. No.
That's
fine.
where when anyone stands up there or sits up there
at the draft,
and at the draft, but like in a setting like this, wherever, like where there is something to be held accountable for, and all you say is it's on me in generalities, and not bring up what you're actually accountable for. That's not real accountability.
Right.
That's saying it to give the impression that you're being accountable when it's like, you know, if you're a parent, like, oh, you're sorry, but what are you sorry for? Right? Like that is what I am waiting for from Beane and the organization about the roster. But again, I think you first need to acknowledge you have a problem. You have to acknowledge that you don't have a great roster before you get to that. And if you're never willing to do that, then again, like he said there were some things I could have done better. What to you is that answer? Is it receiver? What is it? What is the thing that he thinks they could have done better? Because he's just saying it, like, without him giving me an example, I don't know that I believe him.
Right.
Can I also ask?
He was asked, real quick, he was asked about the deadline, too, and then that got interrupted also.
Yeah. Everybody's assuming that the coaches advocated for Keon specifically. Is it possible that he was advocating for get me a receiver in general? Because Terry never... He said they advocated for Keon. That wasn't the next guy on our board, was what he said.
Yeah.
Is it possible the next guy on his board was a linebacker, and Sean said, no, get me a guy that can catch the ball.
Right.
And then it was Keon that Beane eventually selected or whatever.
Beane selected and then said that's who the quarterback that's who the quarterback told me he wanted.
Right. And the coach told me to draft a receiver, so this is what we got.
Maybe.
That just popped into my head.
And this is why the draft, you can just never trust the draft. You just can never trust the draft. The draft doesn't even know what it is. The draft can't figure itself out. How many first-round picks this year? We've got like 11 first-round grades. Great. But we can't trade a first-round pick. Oh, okay. How about lamenting picking 30th? I don't want to pick him so late. You know, the job's so tough. You have Josh Allen. You have the built-in human cheat code, and you're acting like your job is tougher because we're just too good to pick good players. I don't know. Like accountability is one thing.
Well, in part also because if we heard what he believes he could do better, that might give us a sign of what direction they're heading in this offseason with certain decisions. Because if receiver is not one of those, then I'm not going to believe that they're going to change their approach on it at all. And I'll be honest, for that specific example, I mean, there was nothing when Matt Perino asked him about his conversation with us and how that was perceived. There was nothing in that answer that made me think that he's gonna change his approach on it at all. That they'll go sign another $10 million free agent receiver and maybe they'll spend a 4th round pick on it. But not multiple draft picks. I think I'd be surprised after hearing that.
It's just amazing. I've got a tweet here from Evan. In no world could he have had Ladd McConkey or anyone rated above Keon on draft night. Look at what you can do. You can just go back 2 years in time and be like, oh, actually the GM wanted somebody good. Mm-hmm. Look, you just get to do that? That's how this works? Actually, I did. It was up to me. It's John Elway with Josh Allen. I wanted to take Josh Allen. The coaching staff said that they wanted Bradley Chubb. So I'm good. I didn't mess up. Okay.
I tweeted a joke about Aaron Mabin. Wasn't that always a thing that no one ever?
They blamed Jaron.
Yeah, they all pinned it on Jaron.
Yep.
Right.
That was a Dick Jaron. That was Dick Jaron pick. That was more of a Dick Jaron pick.
Right. When he would have been fired and the other guys would have still been here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's easy. That's easy to do.
803-0550. They're going to win 13 games next year. It's going to be fine because of Josh Allen. If Josh Allen ever went down and they missed a season, they would go 5-12.
Was anyone like me when Pegula started reading off the numbers, and once we realized that it was the seeding, I thought he was setting up a reason why they made the change. As it was a bad thing.
We didn't get a 1 seed.
Yeah, that's where I thought they were headed. The fact that we didn't get a 1 seed is embarrassing or whatever he would say. And then when it became the reason why the roster is good, when Josh Allen is your quarterback, I couldn't believe that. That was the reasoning for why the roster is good? That they've been the 6 seed and the 5 seed?
Parker in Farmington. Hey, Parker, good morning.
Good morning. Hey, good morning, guys. Lot to get through. I'll start with this. I think the Buffalo Bills have turned me into a conspiracy theorist, but
okay.
We won't go down that rabbit hole. Let's also start with it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to tear it down. I am deathly afraid that we just watched the 5 minutes of tearing down what took almost a decade to build this culture. And we've been through the really rough drought years. And all of that was said in really what I got out of that press conference was Terry Pegula pulled a power play, even though he says he doesn't accept power play people. But people like him, he's already won the Moneyball. He's already got the stadium. He's got what he needs. I think he made the easy choice for him. And I get the question for you guys. Do you think he ever considered getting rid of Beane? Look, I was a McDermott hater, but I've come around a little bit. I think, there's a process through which you go through. I think it's a big shift to kind of say, hey, we got to get rid of the GM and the head coach and get past that wall, that playoff wall. Totally agree there, but it seems like a rash decision. And the conspiracy I have is that, I kind of feel like I died and I went to hell and Satan basically said to me, hey, I'll give you 1,000 years of hot pokers in the eyes, or you can be a lifetime Bills fan for one lifetime. Which one you're going to take? It's maddening, absolutely maddening. Last point I'm going to make is that I think Beane is still there. And Terry kind of had a glimmer in that press conference that maybe he made the wrong choice and he really actually should have gotten Beane. Beane sounds like he was told that McDermott's getting fired. Media did a great job. No softball questions. Really proud of Buffalo sports media on that one. Really happy to see that. But also this, Beane is only there because Josh was picked. At the time, that was a very controversial pick. No one liked it. No one can say they liked it. Why is Josh who he is? He was developed by McDermott and the team that he put together. That's all I got to say. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thanks, Parker. Quick thing that Pegula also said that I think we'll see. I think it's going to be in print misrepresented. Pegula said, what is success? Is success making the playoffs 7 years in a row with no Super Bowl appearance? And then he got interrupted onto another question. What was he going to say? The whole press conference is how, yes, they have been very successful. So I don't know. Like, was he going to say, that's not success? Would anyone make the case that that is not success? 7 straight years in the playoffs, that's definitely a lot of success. It's hard to win the Super Bowl. I'm not. This is not like I'm after Pegula for saying that. Let's not act like he was some sort of visionary with like, that's not good enough for me. It's not Kobe Bryant saying this. He was just kind of riffing on the idea of what is success, which is a good, debate. You could read that line for line, and you would not be saying anything. And in fact, I think he was about to answer his own question, and then they just went somewhere else.
And we're not going to know.
We're never going to know.
We're never going to know. We were about to know, and we are never going to know if he thought. I think he was probably going to say that for us, we are beyond that or something along those lines. We're above that now. But again, I'm guessing. I have no idea what he was about to say. I think just maybe like there were a lot of interruptions at the end of his answers.
Yeah.
So that happened a couple of times. That was the only time though I felt like something of substance got interrupted and we didn't get the rest of it.
Jimmy in Miami. Hey Jimmy, good morning.
Hey guys. My head is spinning. This is like the Twilight Zone listening to this press conference. I mean, we never hear Pegula speak, and this is the first time I think I've ever heard him in I don't know when, but it seems like he's out of touch with what's going on. He says the roster, something like the roster is excellent, and he kept mentioning these seeding numbers. Like I'm wondering what is he talking about? And then we find out, well, yeah, because we've been in the playoffs so many times, and I guess he's putting the blame on McDermott. But it just sounded like a casual fan, just not in touch with what's going on. And admittedly, he said, he's not been available because of Kim's issues. But it seems like he's totally incurious about how to fix things other than the mood in the locker room. Like, the mood in the locker room was the thing when he walked in. Like, what did he expect? Did he think they were going to be doing cartwheels and playing loud music in the locker room? I mean, did he? I mean, he goes up to Josh and tells him that Cook made the catch. Was that supposed to make Josh feel better? Really? He's got to know that Josh puts everything on his shoulders. Josh knew he had a really bad game. And just like Joey Bosa smashing his helmet, he knew that he had a bad game. There are other players that knew that they played badly. But, if you don't walk in that locker room and see the way those players are, and that's how you're going to make your decision, then you got to fire everyone. You just can't keep Beane. I mean, it just seems like a crazy way to make a decision to me. So, like an old guy that's casually watching football, and he's totally out of touch with what's going on. Look, if you're in touch with the team, okay, here's what we're going to do. We need an edge rusher. We need a star receiver. We need this. We need that. We need not walking in the locker room and saying, oh, my God, these guys are so sad, so I got to fire the coach. Is that the first time he's ever been in a locker room after they lost a big game?
No.
I don't know.
Jimmy, this is one of those spots where, like, I'll defend Pegula as a fan. You have plenty of fans that as soon as they lost that game would have said, like, I'm done. I want him fired. I know that it comes at a bad time. Sure, I think that ball was caught, but I've had enough. I need a change. There are plenty of fans that feel that way. And had the game gone a certain way, I might have felt that way. But the game didn't really go the way I needed it to for it to be that. Mm-hmm. I thought the Bills' defense did a good enough job, kept them in the game, and again, their offense let them down. Like I'm with Joe has jarring numbers on the last 3 years and what they do late in these games, and how it is actually the offense that consistently lets them down in these games. But what happens is people just box score the actual score of the game and decide the defense was bad. So we can all be split as fans on what we're going to do. So I don't have any problem with how he decided to do it. You can out there, for me, rash decision, that happens all the time. Rash decision draft picks are rash. Maybe in a world where Brandon Beane didn't want Keon Coleman And they're going to take somebody else. And 2 minutes before the call comes, they decide, like, let's do it. Like, lots of decisions are made in a very rash way. And, how a decision gets made is part of the story. I don't have a problem with them firing him because of a feeling in his gut. A lot of people do things based on gut. Coaches punt the ball away to their opponent, down 12 with 5 minutes left because of their gut. So, like,
Kurt Signetti kicked a field goal of death and won the national championship the other day. Like, it happens. Those numbers, by the way. So, what he references, I've got the Bills 10 drives in the fourth quarter or overtime of their playoff losses since 13 seconds. So these are the 4 playoff games
since 13
seconds that they lost.
Okay, their fourth quarter and overtime possessions?
Yep, these are how the drives went. Starting at the Denver game, working backwards. Interception, field goal, turnover on downs, touchdown, missed field goal, punt, turnover on downs, interception, turnover on downs. Fourth quarter and overtime in those games where the season has ended, 10 drives,
1 touchdown.
1 touchdown. And if you, again, we didn't really get into it a lot today, but if you listen to the GM over recent years, you wouldn't think that has happened. You wouldn't think that exists, but it does.
Yeah.